Okay, it's a little late in the week to be updating the tier list, but things have been really weird in the world of Pokemon. I was waiting for Blastoise, like Blastoise comes out, we update it for week 4, everything's good to go, gave it an extra day, maybe there's no tight schedule and Blastoise could just come out on Thursday. That didn't happen, and then we got the Pokemon Presents announcement on Friday, but that's gonna be launching on Wednesday. Will Pokemon Unite cannibalize some of the Pokemon news with the Blastoise release? Yeah, we could get an announcement for Blastoise or something Pokemon Unite inside the Presents because it is a Pokemon Presents, and that was actually how Pokemon Unite was revealed, but they say featuring Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Legends Arceus. Putting Unite there might upset people, having it in there seems possible, but as it stands right now, I have no idea what is going on with the updates, but we need to update the tier list because wackiness has been going down. I really overestimated and underestimated a lot of the changes from the patch notes because I was like, oh, Cinderace got nerfed. He's A tier, right? No, still S tier, for sure. Same thing with Zeraora. Zeraora still S tier. Nerfs not hitting hard enough, and also the buffs not doing good enough as well because I'm like, well, Venusaur is viable now, right? When it comes to the buffs. Nah, Venusaur actually the worst character in the game. Because I was like, okay, Venusaur was the worst character in the game, got buffed, still the worst character. Thought he bumped down Slowbro, didn't. If you want to know my thoughts on the Pokemon in more depth, check out the Week 3 patch notes, because I don't want this to be another 40-minute video or something. I just kind of want to give some quick thoughts as to how Pokemon are moving around. Also, Cramorant, moving this boy back into S tier. I've been playing some Master games with it, and the Pokemon is just nuts, and the better you get with him, the more you can lock things out. Like, oh, Cinderace is running around the edge of a team fight, catch him with Surf. Oh, that follows up into Hurricane. Oh, now Cinderace just lost 3/4 of his health. Oh, you can Unite move to, like, zone him out, or if he gets too close, he's just gone. So, like, Cramorant, really good to stopping a lot of the high-damage, squishy characters out there, and also just is insane. The reason why I dropped him down in the last tier list is because I felt like I was underperforming, and maybe that was just Cramorant, where it's like, yeah, I'm S tier on Cramorant, but Cramorant itself maybe isn't. I'm overperforming. Then I look at my damage stats. I'm like, no, I'm always the highest damage on the team. I guess Cramorant has something to do with that. My teammates were just bad, and that made me think that Cramorant was less because it's my main. No, Cramorant's S tier. A lot more people picking up Cramorant, getting insane with him. The Whirlpool nerf, not that big of a deal. I'm worried that if Cramorant keeps getting played and keeps getting shown to be one of the best characters in the game, a real nerf might be coming. They tried to buff Dive to change up the variants, but nah, Air Slash is the worst. Dive is the worst. If you're picking those, you're trolling, and otherwise, Surf Hurricane, easy S tier. Absurd damage, absurd teamfight control, pick potential, and then just one of the best Unite moves in the game. Gengar did get dropped out of S tier. The one thing that happened, because what needed to happen was the invulnerability nerf. Like Gengar was just like way too invulnerable for too long. So I really like the high level change there, but still a lot of damage, still a very, very pickable Pokemon. If Zeraora gets some base stats nerf, like on the attack to where it's not as crazy, and maybe Discharge definitely getting toned down, that damage is way too much, the passive too much, the shield giving it too much safety to 1v9, and yeah, if all that weird stuff happens, maybe we'll see Gengar, but like Cinderace and Zeraora in the jungle, just too good. But the people that are picking Gengar, still succeeding, still a very, very, very strong character. Don't overlook it. Let's keep on going. Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime's still A tier, not much has changed. Barrier versus guard swap, still a thing. Confusion, just tagging someone, stunning them, doing all their health, and then the best Unite move in the game. I did a tier list on Unite moves yesterday. Want to check that out. Description, subscribe, notification bell, playlist, YouTube shilling, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But yeah, Mr. Mime, just healthy A tier, and as I always say, S tier in the hands of those mains. You guys terrify me, but please keep playing it because I love, like, Mr. Mime is the only character where if I get smashed by a skillful Mr. Mime, I'm happy. If I have a skillful Mr. Mime on my team, I'm happy. Keep doing you. Snorlax, A+ tier, best tank in the game, right ahead of Crustle. Crustle is insane. You can crit. Scopeland's Crustle is the play. One of the best Unite moves on Crustle as well. Also crazy, never pick Rock Tomb. If you do that, you're trolling. You are giving your team a loss they don't deserve. You're better off just gel smashing, running into the enemy team, running behind them, exosaring them into your team, and you are now the moving, higher damage, insane Rock Tomb. That's also just the fastest, tankiest, highest damage character in the game for a couple of seconds with very little downtime. Just keep doing that on Crustle. Keep excelling. And also Dwebble players. Like, I've been seeing Dwebble do stuff. So as more gets unlocked about the character, like, people are just getting better on Crustle. That's awesome. Snorlax, just a ridiculous kit no matter how you slice it. Gardevoir, still A tier. Again, inconsistency issues. You can never land everything on Gardevoir. If it was easy, if you could, best character in the game, because then you get like infinite future sight resets at range and you stun people, but still, you can whiff something that puts you behind. If people see the Psy Shock, they might take 1, maybe 2, but it's hard to get all 3. You're also still very squishy, a lot of like Zeraora just gets on you, game over. But at the same time, pretty crazy. Unite move, also hit and miss. It's like, when Gardevoir hits, insane. When Gardevoir misses, still useful. So, A tier. That's how that can be described. Overshot Absol. I was like, oh, Absol buffs? Let's see it go to A tier. It did not. Also, it depends on your most recent game on Absol. If you get crit every time Absol shows up and it just pummels you off of that and puts your team so far behind, it's like, well, A tier, A plus tier. And then you get the games where it's like, that Absol did not crit once. Unlucky for them, lucky for me. Worthless character. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, crit's just too weird. We don't understand how it works. We don't understand how it scales. Scopeland's only giving a small percentage of crit, also a joke, and way too much RNG factor. Like, if Absol crits, it wins. If it doesn't, it loses. Not reliable enough for A tier. Also, the buffs didn't really matter too much. I never thought Psycho Cut was the good one, but Sucker Punch is still good, and like everything it does is good, and the Unite move is okay. Absol does its thing, but still like drops off in the late game. We don't get to one-shot people, and that becomes pretty hard to play inside of team fights, but definitely a lot more usable than Talonflame. Talonflame, even with all those buffs, getting picked more reliable clear, definitely not D tier. Like, Talonflame pre-buff is here, bottom 4, Talonflame post-buff is here, playable, but every other jungler doing better, especially now like Greninja in the jungle, or Cinderace in the jungle, or other scaling characters. I would argue Charizard in the jungle better than Talonflame in the jungle, because it just doesn't team fight well. Even if you get in there with like your AoE abilities and stuff, your Unite move doesn't really do much of anything. It's a coin flip if it's going to work, because of the terrain and it being awkward and just having such a long windup. Not a good Unite move, not a good kit for the meta. If the meta changes, if Dreadnought Zapdos are nerfed, if there's priority on like jungling and backdooring and counter jungling or whatever Talonflame wants to do, then yeah. But until then, weak ganks, comes online too late compared to everyone else, and just kind of falls off. You know, it doesn't really do that much. Next up, we have Garchomp. Garchomp's still A tier. This isn't like the exact order of Pokemon, but kind of going close as we're going into it. Like, Garchomp, healthy A tier. People keep saying like, nah, Garchomp is bad. You just don't know how to use Garchomp. Gible can actually fight. You get that 5th auto attack stack, and like, you're in there doing things. You can't overcommit, because then you just like int and die, and it doesn't feel good. Your levels 5 and 6, 4, 5, and 6 arguably, still pretty weak, but once you get into your Dragon Rush, alright, you're feeling good. If your team gets Dreadnought, which isn't a guarantee, and you scale into Garchomp faster, then you're getting crazy. But you're not useless at Dreadnought. And then again, one of the best Unite moves in the game, you combo off of it, you just KO multiple people inside team fight. I think Garchomp is high skill cap. Just because it takes so long to come online, the Unite move is weird, and Garchomp feels really nerfed from the beta. So it's not S tier anymore, definitely S tier in the beta, like, as the skill cap goes up. But it's one of those things where it's like, hard to learn, just better picks right now. If anything gets nerfed, Garchomp just floats up. If Garchomp gets buffed, it's now insane. So, A tier. It's in a volatile spot. Lucario, A plus tier. Thing is still wrecking lanes somehow. I don't know why an all-rounder that should be squishier than it's a squishy all-rounder. Shouldn't be able to get into lane, but it does. And it gets to blow up people that have like CC, range, and damage. So, Lucario doing its thing. Steadfast is really strong. Stop picking Power Punch. Extreme Speed is the best moveset. Greninja, also A plus tier. Pretty much what happened was, I was like, oh, Cinderace got nerfed. Cinderace still better than Greninja. Cinderace is still S tier. Ninetales just the best Pokemon in the game still, for the same reasons mentioned in the last video, and because of that, Greninja's like not too far behind, and if you get Greninja to the late game, and you have any AD carry in the late game, A plus tier, it's insane. Jungle Greninja, I don't like it as much as Zeraora, Cinderace, Gengar. I think like even Lucario Jungle has more merit, because that Lucario gank is insane. Like, Frogadier ganks are weak and don't really matter too much, and then like in the center, fighting and like core fishing, it also isn't really that good. You're pretty much piling on all that experience into Greninja so you can have it evolve, so you can be ready for Dreadnought, and then you can kind of scale from there. But you're like diverting resources and then pushing it to the late game whereas like you just have more strength than other Pokemon there, but you get there. So viable jungle. When you finally get to being Greninja and you start getting the upgrades on your moves, you're crazy. And if you're playing right, yeah, it's very hard to stop a Greninja. Use Surf, not Water Shuriken. Charizard. Charizard I got right, B+. It feels better from the buffs, more reliable in lane. Once it's Charmeleon and its upgraded moves that got buffs start coming online, you feel it a bit more. It's not a completely free Pokemon. Actually, I would put Charizard in the jungle over Greninja. Like, I've just seen Charmeleon come out of the jungle and beat people, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, the early usage of that buff while ahead. Like, if Charizard's ahead, it gets to really feel those changes. And then it's just alright. Like, you know, Charizard, kind of rough Pokemon. I still consider it really weak. One of my least favorite Pokemon play. Just, that Pokemon is agony. Unless you really commit into it and you really understand the hard strengths, or you're just taking in jungle, but then you're sacrificing better junglers. It's weird. And then your night move is really strong. So, decent character. Still puntable though, and that's a thing. Eldegoss, B+ tier. Again, it's like same reason as last video. Not like all the other Pokemon's like, yeah, everyone's pretty much the same from here on out. I was maybe drinking too much Wigglytuff hype off of the buffs, and I had like really good games and stuff. I just had an A tier. Maybe A tier a little too high. Like, I don't think Sing is the way to go rollout. Like, using masterful rollouts in lane to change lanes or like just do weird things inside of team fights. That's where it's at. Also, double slap, still throwing amounts of damage. Rollout though pushes like you into the enemy team and then slapping them around, so it's harder to use your Unite move. Wigglytuff's Unite move has always been like hard to use well, and you kind of want to do damage because that's the most fun on the character. If you want to play a really boring Wigglytuff, you can also be really successful and then like try to be that support and then get the most out of your Unite move, and it can be game changing because that shield and hindrance immunity, pretty absurd. But I might have overshot it. Like, thing is, Wigglytuff feels better than these characters, but I don't think it competes with like A tier. Like, Wigglytuff not on the same level as Mr. Mime. So if we do something where it's like add row below, Wigglytuff is kind of like A- tier, like somewhere between A and B. It's like its own, it's actually its own tier because it does its own things, and it can have all kinds of wild impacts in lane or game, and then it drops off, but then it doesn't, and then it's good, but it doesn't like determine the game being won or lost. But it's not like an A tier or better Pokemon that can actually be the deciding factor. These Pokemon like drop off and can have moments or can't have moments. Again, Wigglytuff exists in its own ecosystem. And then I'm going to put Machamp in A+ tier because Machamp is absurd and ridiculous, and my life has been changed by just some of the absurdity I've seen. Like, completely, like, once you unlock the level 5, like, you're feeling kind of weird, like, well, you need to turn on as Machamp, right? And if I'm just the melee in lane or I'm kind of ganking, things can go wrong. No, you're just always a Chad. You're just always aggro. I've seen even like level 3 Machops go for like those core fish contests, or even try to steal things and be successful or win fights. You just use that Karate Chop Secure, bulk up giving you stats, CC immunity, always really good. And then level 5, you hit level 5, you flash the mission, dead, gone. Do that out of the jungle. Like, Jungle Machamp, I find has more merit than a lot of the other jungles I've talked about, where it's like, yeah, you go in there, you hit level 5, someone is losing a partner in lane. Flash the mission, can't do anything about it. Also, I played around with Dynamic Punch. Viable, and then second best Unite move in the game. I don't think that's spoiling yesterday's video too much, but still, like, yeah. Machamp changes games and is ridiculous. Does have, like, some trophy moments, does have some kind of inty moments, but can also just, like, be an unstoppable force inside the game. So, actually, looking at this, I feel like this is the tier listing. Maybe now Zeraora is better than Cinderace, but then Cinderace is just better in the late game, because, like, it becomes, like, you don't get one shot by Zeraora anymore, like, once you start getting into the higher levels, if, like, we're calling an even game. Cinderace is still just oppressive. It's range and damage, and Blaze Kick, I thought got nerfed more, but didn't. And apparently knocking off a half second on Feint doesn't really give any more vulnerability to Cinderace, because you use a move on it, and it feints out of the move, and now that move is on cooldown. And Cinderace is still kicking you in the face while your moves are on cooldown. You can't do anything about it because it's like the most consistent DPS, highest, just straight attack DPS in the game or something. And if it uses everything correctly and it's below half, now you're in danger. Now bad things are happening. So still crazy. Pyro Ball, thought the buff was going to be meaningful. Ended up not being meaningful because of the raw damage nerf. So Pyro Ball just kind of like staying the same. but Cinderace is still pretty crazy. It's like, yeah, after the nerfs, I think Ninetales has floated to the best in the game. Cramorant's S tier now. Gengar I'd put at the top of A tier, can still carry. Snorlax best tank, Machamp. Like, this feels about right on how all the Pokemon land. B tier's kind of messy, like Eldegoss over Charizard, Absol over Pikachu, Absol over Charizard for the early game impact. Talonflame, Slowbro not the worst Pokemon, Venusaur still awful. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.